Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and I am in a very unusual place emotionally and mentally. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but let me introduce myself. I'm determined before I incarnated that I wanted to learn the maximum uh, about life on planet Earth. And I wanted to be able to deliver information that could reduce human suffering, literally. By the way, that's the definition of a Buddha. That makes me a Buddha. But if that's your intention also, by definition, you're also a Buddha. Isn't that sweet? Anyway, so I was born in a military mind control program, US government, very pragmatic. And they trained me, or sent me to be trained, or facilitated my training since I was born. It was a planned birth for the program so that I would have the maximum wisdom that's in the East. Did you see the way my eye did that? That means I'm touching on subjects I'm not supposed to be talking about. Um, so, Eastern wisdom, Western pragmatism, and here I am at a point in which the planet is going to end a cycle, enter a new cycle. So, I'm going to speak very spontaneously, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to say next, so it'll be interesting. Technology is extremely important today. I don't really know anything about technology. I have stuff I do on my computer that if you saw me, you would say, Francis, but you've been working on a computer for 20 years. How can you not know that? No, I don't know that. But maybe because of subpersonalities that the mind control program learned how to handle, the people that said subpersonality was the Mayans 5,000 years ago. Not a new concept. I think I know a lot more than I think I know. Why did I say that? Not exactly sure. So I'm here to deliver information today. I didn't want to do this chat today. I don't think I have enough information to give you guys every day. So I'm not going to be doing this 5 days a week. Something's going on having to do with blocking me, an internal force, external, who knows. I'm here. I've been laughing since this morning. I woke up laughing. And I'm pretty serious. But guess where joy is? The real, pure joy. It's in the second chakra, which has to do with sexuality and creation. Sexuality and creation are connected. How can that be? What do you create that's like impossible? You actually produce children. And you wonder about your power of creation? We just, we have been deprived of information. So I'm here to try to correct some of that. But let me go ahead and do the map, which when I did it, I said, I'm not showing this. What the heck is this all about? What is going on here? I don't know. Here's the map. Now, these lines are frequencies, but they're systematic. They're the perfect color. I think this is indicating shifts in the planet. Now, you know that I keep drawing, which I didn't today, but that doesn't mean it's not there. These pyramids that are coming up in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, it turns out that when I turn on my television station, there's a lot of information coming out since March, which may be when I started to draw those pyramids coming up out of the waters of the Gulf of America. There are scientists saying the ocean floor is collapsing right here in the Gulf of America. Sinkholes, it's collapsing. They don't know what's going on. And what I was sketching, what I said was that those are Mayan pyramids coming up, and they give stability. And we are maybe not in we're not in a stable place in terms of the physical aspect of planet Earth. But in the United States, we're looking real good. The other day, California did not look good, but then they saw some new fault lines. Who knows? I can't keep up with it. I need to just keep up with my stuff, and then other people can take my stuff and have it contribute to their stuff. It would be great. Okay. So then there's a nice big heart, and then you've got hearts all along Florida. and a few in Texas, and then you've got black magic in the New York, Washington, D.C. That makes sense. I read a note I wrote the other day about the real Northeast really not identifying with the East Coast. Oh, I'm from the East Coast. Yeah, but if you're from way up here, you're not really part of that group. And of course, that's where we have had some issues of people not really in tune with Trump. And that's a really very nice way of saying it. And I'm not understated. So that's like really sweet. I don't talk like that. But then I put my name across the entire map. Now, what the heck is that all about? I basically have not left my home since August. And 2 years prior to that, yes, I walked around the block, I go food shopping, I do certain things, I still went to family events, and that was it. Now, nada. Food shopping when I'm allowed. I did get my nails done this week, but I've basically been indoors under lockdown since August. And now my name is across the entire map. Now, when I put that there, I said, there is no way that I'm going to talk about this because this doesn't make any sense. But what was I so happy about this morning? I have no idea. But being it that we all have pieces of us in 144 dimensions, who knows what great stuff is happening for me in the other dimensions? But apparently it's associated with the United States. I don't get it. This is a sketch. I promise to give what I sketch. Now, if what I sketch could cost me my life, I'm not going to put it. I have recuperated enough of my instinct of self preservation, which, by the way, was one of the things that the mind control program did. They eliminated your instinct of self preservation. I'm not going to tell you how they did that at this point because this is like going to be a great little chat we're going to have here right now. So here we go. Looks good, other than this black magic, which appears to be kind of minor. So I found what I was looking for. Let me get it up on this. I did this in April of last year. See where it says handler? That actually has the name of my handler. But I went over it because his daughter is a lawyer. And she told my kids that I was going to get taken to court and put away because I was crazy because of what I was saying. So you know what? Let me cover it up. And then his name was here again, and I had to find something to cover it. And I'm not an expert at working on PDFs or any of this stuff. So what does this say? The movie The Matrix was accurate. We didn't know it. So here in the center, that's my handler, who may or may not still be alive. Okay? There's me, his wife, and then I sent this to my family and to other people to say, you need to pay attention. This guy has the ability to, we already know he was controlling a lot of people, but he was controlling them through matrix implants, which basically now I understand are your mind strings that he and Adam Schiff, and I think too many other people, know how to use their mind streams to control you. So let me show you where those mind streams come from. I've shown you this 1,000 times. This is your assemblage of energy bodies, the one in gold with the chakras, with the colors. Those green extensions are mind strings. They're channels. The energy goes both ways. There's 5 fingers at the end. When you have sex with someone, thousands of those interpenetrate the other person, and thousands of their mind streams interpenetrate you, which is why when you have sex with somebody, you are connected. Not just during the act, not just 2 weeks later. You can be connected up to 12 years. And you know the story because I've said it several times. The woman who called during a TV show that I was answering questions, her second chakra with her uterus was sick. And and she says, what caused that? What caused was she had sex with a lot of people who were currently in jail. And so she was getting fed that energy. So let's go back to that. Here we go. Now, I told you that I had my handler that was doing this to me, and then he's doing this to all these other people. I'm sure here it says 13, who knows how many it is. Adam Schiff does the same thing. And then I told you that there's somebody in Congress that looks like this, an upstanding citizen in Congress. But you see, once you have those implants, you are not you. You are you plus a lot of energy that's getting infused in you that has intention. Let's go back to this. At this point, oh, and we don't have it on this one, I discovered in one of my sessions that Orion, the planet of Orion, has a mind stream matrix implant into the back of our liver. And I investigated that because of the fact that on the cross, Jesus Christ, the lance was able to pierce him in the liver. And I knew that everything about Jesus on the cross is a message to us. The same way his crown of thorns is a message that we are not allowed access to our third eye. It's dangerous. You'll get hurt if you try to go there. So anyway, so you have all these people that know how to do this to people and change them. This is mind control, the most sophisticated that I think that I am aware of on the planet. So how many members of Congress do we have? Well, I'm just talking about Congress right now because the guy that was most influential in intelligence knew how to do this, which was Adam Schiff, and did it to me. Who knows how many other people? Did he also do that to my handler and the people that worked on him in the committees that Adam Schiff worked on? I am sure. This person, did he work underneath Adam Schiff? Now, does Adam Schiff have matrix implants? I don't know. This is the stuff that we need to find out because the people that have those implants in them are not just them. I told you when I went to therapy in the 90s, the first thing I said to my therapist was, listen, we need to deal with the stuff that I did under mind control. And they said, no, my God, look what they did to you. I said, that's fine. I get it. We're going to work on that. But the first thing we need to work on is the stuff that I did because I can't live with that. So you end up being something that you're not. Like this entire country is asleep. Do we all have matrix inserts? I don't know. I did this last year. Nobody paid any attention. My family certainly didn't pay attention. Are we going to pay attention now? We now understand the matrix. We understand the part of the movie where they implant something in the guy's neck, but you don't have just one implant. Yeah, I think if you have one, you must have many. One of the things that I do when I'm clearing myself is I'm cutting and I'm cutting and I'm cutting, and I'm not even stopping to look to see if where it's coming from. I'm just cutting. I want to be a free person. I don't want to be a robot. But I also don't want everybody who's important in making decisions that are going to influence me to be a robot either. We need to get this understood and taken care of. And we need, again, I repeat, Trump, we have to have some level of compassion for the people that have been controlled. This is huge. So there's more than one way. Let me show you another graphic. And I don't think I have, do I have this up? You know what? I do. So if you'll give me a second, and you'll just have to be patient for a second, I'm going to get up the next thing that I would like for you to see so that you'll understand how good, bad is not quite so easy. Okay? Give me a second. Okay. No. Give me a second longer. We'll get we'll get this done. Will we get this done? Okay, I got it. So we have matrix implants that can completely change you. And from a distance. The person doesn't even have to speak to you on the phone. Okay, so here we go. Here's another thing. This police officer, you know how all police start and want to be police because they want to help people. And then they end up being very angry people and they can be bullies, whatever. But see this guy that's being stopped? He has rage at authority and he has a vector. Thank you, Elon Musk, for talking about vectors. Because I was just saying pointed triangles. So sorry. So he has a vector from this guy that's full of hatred for police, pointed and directing his hatred into the policeman, who started being a policeman because he wanted to help people. But now he's being infused with hatred. And then his thoughts, they all have a story, angry, depression. And then you have his vector going to the kid, the guy that was speeding or whatever, and his hatred, which could have started with the guy that was speeding, his hatred goes back to the person. And then you get, it's not a recycling, it's a transference. So until you guys will listen to me and people like me and understand how important it is to purify what's landing on you or what you picked up or what you chose that you no longer want, we're going to keep doing this to each other. And nobody's going to really know that we are all good people. So, what are you doing to your kid? The story about the autistic mother. The kid is screaming in my office, tearing apart the office. She's just sitting there like a little angel. And I looked at her and I went, please start doing the mantra, even though I hate. Oh, I don't hate anybody. Please start doing the mantra, even though I hate, I love, and accept myself. So she did it because I was in command. I was in control. And all of a sudden, her kid stopped destroying my office because she stopped energizing him with a hatred, a rage, a frustration that she had because she couldn't stand watching her kid act out of my office. But her not acknowledging that or silently doing that mantra, she was just infusing him with more fire. Da, 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 da. On and on about the fire. So I'm going to put the matrix back up here. So who is controlling who? We're looking at people and we're going, I don't get it. I don't understand it. They were such nice people. I don't get it. Well, maybe we can get it now. Here I cut it, the controlling mind streams with a black obsidian knife. Yes, you can do that. You can also, it's much easier to do it with scissors. And that you do through visualization. All the healings in the other dimension are done through visualization. Oh, I don't know how to do that. You don't know how to visualize something? Then just invent it. In Renaissance time, visualization was considered an art. And it is also, it's a skill, but it's a skill you can develop. You don't have to be born with it. But all you have to do is invent in your mind that you have a pair of scissors, long and thin, and anyway, that's what I do in my classes. But you should learn to do it. Everybody needs to learn to do this. I'm not going to teach you today. So today I gave a workshop on your bladder. Did you know that I didn't know that men have bladders also? I thought that was their prostrate. Okay. But see, I'm not supposed to know that stuff because then when I see something, it makes it even more valuable. But anyway, so I did have a man in the session and it made it more interesting. So I was diagnosed with precancerous cells in my bladder 40 some years ago. It was actually due to a spinal cord injury, which is interesting. I lost sensation to my bladder. Okay, I was supposed to have a test done for cancer every 6 months 40 years ago. So how many? That would have been 40, 80 times. I haven't had a single one because I have never trusted doctors. I told my daughter that if I ever got sick, I was never to go to a hospital. She was to take me home, call all my friends that know how to do healings, and if they couldn't get it taken care of, then it was just my time to leave. But that I begged her to promise. She promised me she would never send me to a hospital because I know the stuff that's coming out now. Why do I know? Because I investigated? No, my instincts. And because the stuff that I was picking up was totally incompatible with what medicine was saying. So today we do the bladder. So I started from, I already know that if you're female and you have bladder issues, basically your bladder is holding your rage at men. So rather than saying, even though I'm raging at men, you do the mantra, even though I hate men, I love and accept myself. Because there's a part of you that had some incidents that make you hate men. It could have been your brother who beat you up when he was a little kid. It could have been your father who thought you were female, therefore you weren't as valuable as your brother. Who knows? It doesn't matter. That's held in your bladder because you didn't do mantras. Huh. Mantras liberate the mind. It's your mind that holds that information in your bladder. Got it? So I've been doing, even though I hate men, and as I was walking down the stairs and I was doing the mantra, because you don't even have to think, I could see that my bladder, thank you, Elon, had vectors coming out of it full of rage and fire. Oh, that's good. It's working. Man, I'm really angry. Makes sense. I still have abusive men around me. So then I give the class. And what do we find? We find that in the bladder, we have an implant, but it's not a bad implant. It's from Venus. Venus has an implant in human bladders to send the energy of Venus. Oh, that's sweet. Well, why would they do that? Guess what the bladder has? A programming, not by Venus, to have male females hate each other. Don't get me caught up with the trans and the bi and all the rest of that. Whatever the partner would be, male energy, female energy, it doesn't have to be male and female bodies. We have a program that holds this rage at, in my case, men, holds it there so that you won't get together with mate. Or that if you do, you have this simmering pot of rage and it's held by a programming. So Venus decides to help out. Why on earth would I make this up? For those of you who are saying, wait a second, why would I make this up? I'm a remote viewer. I say what I see and what I feel. I would never make that up, especially not the bladder. Oh, yuck. Give me a more elegant organ. This is the information that came through. And if you look at results, you go, maybe that makes sense. So you've got a programming from the bad ETs. Oh, you don't even believe in aliens. You know what? You don't need to be here on my chat. If you are not open, I don't know what's going to happen to you, but I cannot help you. Got it? Next. So you have a programming to hold your resentment against whatever mate would be, male, female, whatever. And then you have Venus. And is that programming a matrix implant? I don't know. I guess I should go back and look. You have Venus that sends an implant, a matrix implant, to balance it off with Venus energy, which is love and community and whatever. Is that incredible? It absolutely is. So then we got to get this little sketch. And then so here, you put yourself in the middle. And then you have an implant in your liver from Orion. Then you have another implant from Venus in your bladder. Do we know how many more that we have? We don't, but we can. This can be investigated and we can sketch this all. And then we can cut the ones that are infusing us with really bad energy, like these mind control people, instructions. By the way, the one from Venus sends the energy of hatred and fighting, killing, and also eating other human beings. That's what Venus, that's what Orion is sending us. We got to get this all mapped out. So, who are we as human beings? And I think the reason why Jesus said, don't judge, is because we are not what we're doing, what we're looking like, and what we're acting out. We're not. The stuff that I did under mind control, I would have never done that. What are you, crazy? I mean, I don't even have to say that. I wouldn't have been there, wouldn't have done that. How many people in Congress would not have done that? How many times have I said, I remember the Clintons from the 90s when Clinton was trying to declassify the mind control program. And then now we have all this stuff going on. What did they do to that family? What did they do to that man? What did they do to me? And that's the whole thing, not just with Jesus Christ, but with Buddha also. Don't judge because you don't have all the information. Now, how do you run a society like that? I don't know. But we are no longer in the age of information. We are in the age of transformation. We have to transform. And I said it years ago. When we see somebody acting out, this was years ago, in the future, we're going to say, oh my God, what must have happened to him that he would do this? Not, oh, look what he did, the judgment, but what must have happened to him that he did this? And in Buddhism and in other esoteric whatever, they know that the people that are the murderers, the killers, the people that do the worst things, they are the most evolved. And I've told you the story about the angel coming in asking somebody they needed help because somebody had to carry a dark energy that was landing on the planet. This was Lemuria, the original civilization, or one of the original. So who are we? What are we carrying? How do we get back to ourselves? How do we get this country? I always wondered, the United States is like, my God, we're not looking good. This is awful. So materialistic. And then we're going into the golden age. Well, what's going to happen to the United States? Well, I don't know. Trump got the reins of power and we are transforming. And we're not going to be what we were. But what are you going to do with all these people in between? I don't know, but we got to get it figured out. We got to get it figured out. And then we go back. My mind just slipped. So what I'm going to say is important, but now I got to find it again. Let's go back to electricity. Why am I going to electricity? Because I'm talking about the bigger picture, planet Earth, and what life is about on planet Earth and what we human beings are supposed to be. So we're going to talk about electricity. I already talked about, but now I got a little bit more, maybe not concise, because I'm half Cuban. And I'm also very ADD and I'm overexcited. So I'm not going to be that systematic. I'm so sorry. But creativity is never systematic. So my mind slipped again. Electricity. As you know, I wrote a book called Your Matrix, Your Electric Body years ago. I shouldn't have put them, maybe I shouldn't have put the name Your Matrix, but I didn't know then. Okay, we all make mistakes. And then the whole microwave thing with everything that's Wi-Fi is powered by microwave. Well, you're not supposed to stand next to a microwave when it's on, but we sleep inside a microwave. Cell phone, digital clock, Wi-Fi, the whole 9 yards. So I wanted, and I've said this story before, but you're going to hear it again. I asked for like 2 years, everybody, what happens in one space when you have microwave and electricity in the same space? Nobody had an answer. They actually, I'm not sure they even listened to my question. But then I got somebody who actually listened to me. And my grandson made me a little box that produced electricity. That was so cute. It was so sweet. He was a little kid, so sweet. And I had my cell phone. So I had my microwave radiating, my cell phone radiating microwave, and I had a little box that was creating electricity. So then, but before that, I started asking, what is electricity? when nobody could answer what happens when microwave and electricity are in the same space, which is basically all our spaces. Nobody could answer. So I said, okay, what's electricity? And everybody, I looked it up on the internet, and pages and pages. Anytime you have to write pages about something, you don't really have a grip on it. I my masters and handlers ask a question, two or three sentences means you got it under control. More than that, you're fishing all over the place. I'm asking, and I asked a couple of people, engineers, and I asked one guy, the guy that actually helped me with the experiment, and he said, Francis, they don't really know what electricity is. Well, it produces light. This whole planet, we want it to be full of light, and maybe we need to know what electricity is. Do you know who told me what electricity is, or kind of the dynamics of it? The gardener. He said, that's easy. You get the blue cable and the red cable, electric cable. You put them together and you get light. Electricity produces light when you get the male and the female together. Cable or energies or bodies, if your sexuality happens to match your body. So getting male and female together on planet Earth is like a really big deal. Yeah, it is. It's such a big deal that if you look at all the songs that have been written through centuries, I would venture to say that 95% of them are the battle between the sexes in terms of not being able to quite fit together, not being able to come together, male cable, female cable, electricity. If we will more readily give our lives for our children than for our mates, then why is it that we have 95% of our songs all about it not really working out, male, female? Because it's that important that it do work out, which is why there are that most people's relationships in terms of mate are haunted. What does that mean? There are spirits that either are assigned or they don't just happen to be there to make sure that those two people do not make it. Yeah, they can stay together, but they can't do this. You can do this when you have orgasm. It's 2 seconds. Actually 30 seconds for a female, 6 seconds for a male. Oh my God. So that is the reason why relationships are such a mess, because what do you call it in football? It's interception. We're being intercepted. Our relationships, they don't want it to work. And that's why a lot of people who are into reading cards and all that stuff, they'll tell you, oh, your soulmate, it's always so difficult. It's difficult because it's so important. So the whole male female getting together is the whole point, so that you can create light. We don't know that. There's a lot we don't know, but we can know it now, because I'm not the only person out there that can do what I'm doing. I may be better at it than most people that have the training, but I'm not the only person out there. But then you have to listen to the information, and it makes sense. It adds up. It makes sense. I think I have a benefit in that my control, who may have been Illuminati, looked at things with a very wide lens. Decision? You have to make a decision? Okay. What happens in 5 years when you make that decision? What happens in 10? What happens in 15? What happens in 25? What happens in 50 years? And what happens in 100 years when you make that decision? Now, how many people do that? Nobody. He trained me to look at things like that, but it's like built in now. I have a friend who is very bright. And I remember she said to me one day that she had kind of figured something out about me. She said, "You can see people's potential, you can see what they can be. And then you try to help them get there. But what you're not realizing is they don't really want to be there because they don't see it." This is true. So I try, no, I'm totally backed off on that. I don't do that anymore now that I understand it, which I didn't understand immediately. I knew she was right, but I couldn't. I wanted to help. I wanted to help. I didn't know at that point that when people have problems, it's because they need it. And if I interfere and take care of their problems to push them forward, they're not getting any place. By the way, I did executive coaching for two people that achieved positions they was like, my God. One of them in their industry was like the youngest, whatever. They weren't able to keep the post. They weren't able to keep their position. You can only executive coach to a certain point, and only the people that should actually be there. And in this case, these were, well, actually a person I worked with, but in the private field. And then I actually had to coach what was a potential presidential candidate who didn't want to run for the presidency, and I had to coach them. And they really didn't want it, and it didn't work. They didn't want it, and I wasn't going to keep pushing. But what's my point? My point is that we have access to a lot of things. We have access to information. All information is available today. That's what Revelations is. It's access to information. There's nothing that there were only pyramids in Egypt. And then wait a second, there are a couple of really important ones in Mexico. Okay, but and now there's whole cities in Guatemala, northern Guatemala in the jungle. Oh yeah, but and now we have pyramids all over the place coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, which has not been seen physically yet, so don't count that. You're discovering pyramids all over the United States. They were always there. What happened? Oh, people were blind. No, they weren't blind. There's membranes that are like veils in between dimensions, and I don't know who decides when that's going to come up and you're going to be able to see it. So we have all this information, and now we have to systematize it, okay, and get it to people and apply it. And we will reach the point where we'll see people doing god awful stuff. We will already know that everybody is actually incredibly wonderful. And there's an influence there, and there's a reason why they're doing that. Let's get it figured out. Let's get it corrected. And let's get the person back on path so that he doesn't have to do that. Psychologists know that to a certain extent. If you go to a psychologist with your kid, when the kid acts out, a really good psychologist will say, "Why don't you come back next week without the kid?" Because the kid is just symptomatic. What's going on in Congress is symptomatic of something bigger that's going on having to do with humanity. So I'm basically finished, but I want to say one last thing. I used to listen to, like everybody else in my car, NPR. And as the years went by, their voices started to bother me. They sounded just like so understanding and so elegant and so unemotional and looking at the problems. No, these poor children. And I was like, really bothered me. And it felt like I was, who's ever listening to me, being talked down to. And they were constantly doing segments on places in Africa and Asia, poor towns, and when there was a water plant that was put in, and they're helping to do this other thing over here. And a couple of days ago, I realized they're holding hands with the USAID. Absolutely holding hands with them. I know that's already taken care of. But why are we covering the poor people in Africa? Well, because we're well off, and we should have compassion, and we should share what we have. But in order to get you to open your pocketbook, I got to hear more about those kids that are. But we got kids in the ghetto here. No, 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 not in NPR. No, 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 no. Did they talk about doing it together? I don't know, but it's just too smooth. Too smooth. Too smooth. I'm finished. I have another class I'm giving. Oh my God. In 20 minutes, and I have not sent them the link to the event. So we are not going to be doing mantras because I have a responsibility here. I got new blouses via Amazon because I can't go to stores, but I think I'm going to be able to go to stores next week. What do you think is going to happen? That I would do a map with my name all across it. Francis across the map of the United States. Something's going to happen. It's going to happen tonight or tomorrow. I have no idea. Is somebody going to buy my book, Sex, We Need to Figure It Out? Please. I don't know what this is, but I don't have time to do mantra with you. So the next time you're with somebody and you hate their guts because of what they're doing to you, do a mantra. Even though I hate them, I love them, I accept myself silently. Just look at them like this. Do the mantra. Anyway, my shirt, too big. I lost weight. Isn't that nice? It's nice because I am not moving. I'm standing still. I'm laying around all day long. But I lost weight. So now I need another size. So I was so happy to get my new shirts for you guys. Because I'm not seeing anybody. Now I got to send them all back. Okay. Love you a lot. We will see you again. Even though I'm not sure I'm going to be doing this 5 days a week. Okay? Bye.